The Red Dirt D&D podcast is brought to you by Pro Laser Cuts. The Oklahoma company provides pre-made and customizable design laser-cut dice towers, tokens, and more developed by a gamer for gamers and now available to enhance your tabletop game. Pro Laser Cuts products can be found at many Oklahoma City area game stores, local events, and now available online at prolasercuts.com. That's laser and cuts with a Z, Pro Laser Cuts. Welcome to Red Dirt D&D. I'm Michael Cross, and I play Gideon Block, a paladin with a tragic past.
I'm Kiri Hester, and I play Poppy Tealeaf, a Habbo and Halfling druid searching for a new life.
I'm Johnny Payne, and I play Xonimus Dinar, a half-elf rogue with a past he can't seem to escape.
I'm Brooke Bullock, and I play Mak'ren Stone Shaper, a young dwarf sorcerer setting out to understand his own arcane gifts.
And I'm Ash King, your dungeon master. Join us now for Tales from the Calaban Frontier. Life on the Calaban Frontier is dangerous. It requires a special kind of person who accepts that danger and understands the risks. However, that doesn't mean that when someone dies that they aren't mourned. Deputy Thomas Josephson, a young man of 21, has been cut down in the line of duty, mercilessly slain by the infamous outlaw Wiley Smokes Moran. His body has been carefully washed, dressed, and shrouded by those who knew him best, Sheriff Riza Bravestar and her sister, Alyssa Clearwater. And he has been laid out in the main room of the Long Rest Hotel for those who knew the young man to pay their respects. So, where is everybody?
You said he's actually laid out?
Yes, they've cleared the room of most of the tables, because it, kind of just a little like dining area. So a majority of the tables have been cleared away, leaving just one long table where he has been laid out. There's a long stretcher that has, kind of some handlebars basically, so that way he can be moved and carried without being disturbed. But his body has been shrouded in a very simple linen shroud, under which, he's been dressed in his Sunday best. Riza sits nearby, very downcast. Occasionally people are kind of coming by and, offering their condolences to her, and Alyssa is standing next to her with one hand gently rubbing her back and offering, whatever comfort she can, because it's been barely a day.
I want to go over to the sheriff and say, Sheriff, I didn't know much about Deputy Thomas. Did he have any family?
Riza very slowly shakes her head and gives you this very watery smile and says, he lost him a couple years back. I took him under my wing not long after.
So he's been with you the whole time?
Yeah.
I break away and I go over to just pay my respects to Thomas and just pray to Daga for a bit.
So the room's very quiet. The mood is very somber, but it does seem as if, the town knew this young man and they love this young man, so it's just kind of a constant, people just in and out throughout the morning as they learn about what happened in the night and are just trying to make sense of this tragedy.
How old was he?
He was 21. He was a very young man, just getting his start. But the afternoon has passed in a blur of morning, and as sunset begins to approach, Father Donovan, the town priest, slowly enters into the room very respectfully and reverently and touches Riza's shoulder. Are you ready? The half-orc, half-elven woman gives a nod, standing up from the chair that she's been sitting in all afternoon. Father Donovan moves to place a pair of copper coins over Thomas's eyes before he covers his face with the shroud and ties it so that it's not going to come loose. Riza and a select few other members of the townsfolk move to take up their positions and pick up the stretcher that he's been placed on to escort him to the town cemetery. Father Donovan is leading this somber procession, and as they walk down the main road of the last stop, people slowly begin to filter in and, take up positions of this honor guard for this young man's final journey. They make their way to the small graveyard where Thomas will be laid to rest. Other members of the townsfolk have also gathered here at the graveside. They very carefully and very reverently lower his shrouded body into the recently dug grave, and Father Donovan stands up to speak the prayers to Dusk, the secretive goddess of the night and the guide of the dead. Secretive Dusk, hear our prayers. Take into your loving guidance the soul of our dear friend, Thomas Josephson. Lead them safely into the next life, and ensure they do not lose their way. So let it be. The town gives their respects and bows their heads as the sun is slowly beginning to sink down on the horizon, and they slowly begin to fill in the grave. Standing at the graveside for a few moments as the final words and prayers are spoken, Riza turns to you, Gideon. The sun sinks low on the horizon, turning the sky into a marvelous painting of reds, oranges, and just that little hint of purple as the night truly begins to take hold. Come on, the long vigil awaits. She turns on her heel, walking towards the small chapel that serves the spiritual needs of the last stop.
Follow along.
The chapel is of average size for a small Kalban settlement. The decor is simple, obviously handmade lovingly. A set of shrines catches your eye as the main focal point of the small sanctum. There's a larger one for She Who Weeps, and 3 smaller ones for each of her daughters. The goddess Dawn, the goddess Daga, and the goddess Dusk. Riza approaches these shrines reverently, picking up a few sticks of incense from a small open box, and she lights them before placing one in the offering bowls, one for Daga, one for Dusk. She pauses for a few moments, waiting for you, and bows her head reverently to speak some prayers and gain some gentle comfort.
Mm-hmm. And I do the same. I actually go and offer incense to the 3 goddesses.
After a few moments, Riza looks back to you and says, "The path that you're about to embark upon isn't easy. Out here, in the Kalban, those of us who swear the oath of the Silver Star are the one thing that stands between the innocent and the wicked. But in order to do that, we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard, hence the oath. I swear upon my honor, with the knowledge that should I fail, those that I protect will suffer, to uphold these tenets that Daga has handed down to me. I will uphold the spirit of the law. I will protect the innocent from the lawless. I will serve the community above myself. I will not kill if it can be avoided, and I will commit to fairness in all my dealings. So mote it be, in the light of Daga." As she speaks these words and reveals this full oath to you, it almost as if she's taking comfort in herself and reminding herself of what she has promised to do. "Gideon, you must understand what you're swearing to. You can't do this because you want revenge, or because you want to find some sort of glory out there in the wild. That is the purpose of the long vigil, to meditate on what the oath means, and to give you a chance to make sure you're doing this for the right reasons. Get comfortable. It's going to be a long night." And she moves to one of the pews.
I was going to say, is there a place where I would go kneel, or do I just sit
So there are some pews here, but then also, if you wanted to, you could literally kneel before the shrine itself.
Which is what I was thinking of doing, something like the knights of old.
Mm-hmm.
And praying. Lady Daga, I don't know my full purpose here. I just know this is where you have guided me since that night I was found before your temple in Venturas. This is where I have to be, and there are issues that I have to go through, and that is why I'm here tonight. I'm looking for your guidance as I go through this long vigil. Please be with me tonight.
You kneel down, you bow your head, and you wait. Poppy, as the funeral of Deputy Thomas comes to a close, you watch Gideon as he heads off with Riza, and a large, gentle hand settles on your shoulder.
I'm gonna reach up and just cover her hand and acknowledge that.
Yeah. Yazgash very gently kind of gives a reassuring squeeze. It's just enough pressure that you know what it means, but not so much that it's painful. And the two of you kind of linger as the final words are spoken and the townsfolk start to disperse and head off in the different directions. The sun sinking low, but she leans down and says, Poppy, come with me. There is much I think you need to know.
And I'll go with her.
So she leads you out into the wilderness that surrounds the last stop, far enough that the lights of the town are out of sight, out of mind. The night sky is a mass of stars, a sight that is almost impossible to find in the large cities out to the east where you have grown up. At first, you think it might make you feel small, smaller than normal, but there's something about it. It's, you look up and you can't identify the constellations, but how could there be so many stars? The older orc conjures a flame into her hand and uses it to create a small campfire as she sits down, the long gauze robe that she wears flaring out and settling into the dry, dusty earth. She looks over to you and in Druidic says, So, what do you understand of our Great Mother?
I've had a lot of thoughts today. It's been a very long couple of days. Death is not something I encountered quite frequently in my personal life. I know it existed. I knew of people who had died, but I never knew them, and I never knew Thomas either, but I've never seen people truly grieve, and death is inevitable.
Oh yes, it is part of the great cycle.
None of us can truly escape death, but death can make you value your life, just like great sorrow only makes great joy that much greater. Thomas experienced great sorrow in his life, but he also experienced great joy. He was orphaned, but he was not without family. Riza loved him very much. This town loved him very much, and I don't think that even though Thomas's mortal body is no longer walking and talking, that doesn't mean he's gone, as long as those who love him think about him.
He has but passed into the shadows.
You ever feel so small and so big at the same time?
All the time. This form, it is impressive, I will admit. But even for an orc, there are places that I have been and things that I have seen. Maz and I, we have not always lived here in the last stop. We were once mighty wanderers and mighty warriors. Oh, you should have seen Maz in a fight. It did things. Interesting things. But that is not what we are talking about. I will not go too far.
It's a deep blush.
But there are places that you can go out there. And she nods out farther into the wilderness beyond what little light that this campfire can provide. And there are things out there that you would not believe. Sights that only a few have seen and have come back to tell. They are so glorious. And they are so terrible at the same time.
I'm gonna be real honest. My life up until this point has essentially been my father's house, maybe a couple other homes where I went to parties. But I get to decide, or I felt like I was gonna get to decide what I do with my life. But sometimes it just feels like it is my decision, but it's not. Like there's a greater power making these decisions for me. Sometimes it just seems like everything is up to chance, like a roll of the dice, you might think.
I do not know if I would describe it that way, but I can tell you there are times when I felt like a stone in the river.
Yes! Oh my goodness! And just everything around me is just stopped and slowed, and everything on the outsides is just going by so fast, and they all know what's going on, and it's just nobody will just stop, and nobody actually sees me.
And the water rushes by you, transforming you and changing you in ways that you cannot even realize.
I guess that's right.
And you don't know, should you surrender to the experience, or should you fight it?
Metaphorically speaking, a rock couldn't really fight against a river.
But does the stone weather away to reveal something more brilliant inside? Or does the stone wither away until it is nothing?
You know, I found a rock once in I called it my oasis. It was just a little corner of my garden at home. But I found it, and I kept it because it was about the size of my fist. It was very pretty. On the outside, it was just kind of very smooth. But I dropped it, and it opened up, and it was just crystalline inside, and it was like a whole universe existed inside this one small rock. So you're saying that there's a universe inside of me?
Yes. That is the love and the power of our Great Mother. She is the one who weeps for us. Her tears create the water that nourishes our lives. She cries out for us in mercy, seeing the hardships that we must endure. And people like you and I, we are the ones who truly hear. We hear her crying. And we are the ones who can make the decisions to alleviate her sadness and to help create a better world. I first heard her cries when I was very young, and thus the grandmother of our tribe took me under her wing and taught me how to really listen. This is what you must do, Poppy. You must learn to listen. And she pulls over a sack that she's brought with her and opens it up, reaches in, pulls out. It's a mix of some sort of herbal mix. She tosses it into the fire, causing it to flare for just a moment before it starts to produce this very pungent smoke. This will help you quiet your mind and enter into the realm of spirits. That is where you will learn what is causing any disruption in your connection with the Great Mother. Tonight, you will strengthen your connection with her and learn what she seeks from you. I will be here to guide you on your way, but you must choose to walk the path yourself.
I'm a little scared. Can I hold your hand?
Yes. And she offers, this very big, gnarled hand. You see the scars from her life and the calluses on her palm, but there's just such a warmth there that she takes your hand and absolutely no fear, no tension.
That pleases me.
Howdy friends, Michael Cross here, taking just a few moments away from Red Dirt D&D, asking you to become a patron of this podcast. Your support means we can add a lot of extra niceties to the show in the form of artwork and music, as well as supporting our cast and crew. Patrons get early access to content as well as bonus material, along with access to our Discord server. You can even get an invite to monthly Q&A sessions and DM classes, maybe even a 2-hour game session with our very own Dungeon Master, Ash King. We have 6 different monthly levels to choose, ranging from $5 to $100. Head over to patreon.com/reddirtdnd right now to show your support for this new podcast. Now, back to Tales from the Caliban Frontier.
Mak'ren. After the funeral, a small handful of folks are starting to head back to the Long Rest Hotel. Riza has taken Gideon off to participate in the long vigil. Yazgash has taken Poppy and they've headed out of town, parts unknown. I'd imagine you almost feel a little lost. You know, these people that you've been forming these friendships with and have just gone through this very traumatic experience. It's almost overwhelming.
It's a feeling he maybe knows fairly well. This idea of standing there alone while everyone moves off around him to go do something else, to go here, to go there. Yeah.
So, as you're kind of looking around and trying to get a sense and a handle of what's going on, Alyssa Clearwater is kind of, heading by. She's patting her eyes down gently and kind of scrubbing the tears away from her cheeks. But she notices you, Mak'ren, and motions you on over. Mr. Mak'ren.
Yes, ma'am?
You're welcome to come join us. I'm hosting a little bit of a get-together at the hotel. I know that my sister has Mr. Gideon's attention right now, and Miss Poppy's gone off with Yazgash. I don't rightly understand druids, but I'm sure they'll be fine together, and I don't think I rightly know where Mr. Xonimus is headed off to, but I know you just came into town, but it already feels like so much has happened.
Well, that's right, friendly. I'll be happy to join you if you don't think I'd be in the way.
Oh, no, of course not.
She slowly starts to walk with you back towards the hotel. And
we don't often have to bury someone so young out this way. She's got the whole town in a tizzy. Riza won't admit it, but I think she's a little worse for wear than what she lets on. She wants the whole world to think she's so fearless, but our papa did name her Brave Star for a reason. We were very much family to Thomas. His parents died in a fire a handful of years ago. Some suspect it wasn't completely on the up and up. His daddy had been having some trouble with some less than savory characters, and then Thomas marched right into Riza's office one day declaring that he would be her deputy. She liked his audacity. Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm rambling again.
It's quite all right.
Such a bad habit. It must be different in Venturis with the Dwarven clans. I've heard tales that they're fairly tight-knit.
There's a guardedness, almost a sadness maybe that's on my face, and he pauses for a moment. Family's very important. It's also very important to fit in. Out here in the frontier, you can do your thing, and Riza can do her thing, and if she wants to do sheriffing, and if you want to set up a hotel, and I got the feeling you guys had that freedom to do that. It can be good to know your place and know where you're supposed to be, and know that your choices have been made for you, or that there's certain expectations you're not supposed to deviate from. But sometimes big cities and different kinds of living, it's not all it's cracked up to be.
I suppose that is one way to look at it. I haven't had much experiences outside of Last Stop. Riza and I were born in a farm not too far from here. I guess we're lucky. I don't know.
Is it inappropriate for me to ask about your ma?
No, of course not.
Well, you mentioned, your dad, and I just assumed with different last names, you and Riza had the same dad or same ma, but not both.
No, our parents are very happy together.
Oh.
No, it's an elven tradition.
Oh.
Both orcs and elves, they have some similar overlaps, but our papa, he was the elven side of ourselves. He was the one who gave us our names. We had to earn them, you see. And of course, Riza, she's always been so foolhardy and so brave and so wonderful.
It's a lot to look up to and a lot to live up to, but I earned mine because, well, I'm a bit of a rambler. Much like the rivers, you know. I'm clear as an open book. So hence the clear water.
A smile starts to creep onto my face and a nod. That makes sense.
You kind of get that hearing about Alyssa and Riza and this relationship with their family. You can't help but think back to how it is in the Dwarven clans. And just that little echo of Mak'ren.
Mm-hmm.
This is your fault.
Mm-hmm.
You can't help but think back to that moment in Brawler Steel Arm's office.
Yeah.
You having to earn a place. As he's turning over the gem that you had so lovingly, and you'd worked so hard, you were so proud of it.
Yes.
Mak'ren, my boy, you made this?
Yes, Lord Steelarm.
Now tell me, how can a youngster, you're not even quite 50, how could you focus on anything you've never done this type of work before? What's changed?
Indeed, my lord, it was just as if one day...
Boy.
Yes, my lord.
Common tongue. Business speak. You're gonna have to get used to it.
And my shoulders kind of fall a little bit, my chin, my head kind of goes down a little bit. And I take a deep breath. I was like,
Well, sir, it just came to me, I guess.
and it kind of absentmindedly fiddles like with the pocket on this formal vest that he's wearing. It's a look we haven't seen with Mak'ren. He's got long sleeves, maybe there's a little bit of frill at the bottom of the sleeve, and this very formal looking vest, that might go with a three-piece suit, although, it's just the vest that he's wearing, but his hand kind of lingers for a second.
Boy, stop fidgeting, spit it out.
It just all started making sense, Lord, and it's like I could, it's like if I listened, I could almost hear what shape the stone wanted to take. It was that maybe it's from the princess. Maybe if I studied it long enough, I could almost imagine it, seeing it in my mind, connecting with it.
He continues to look over this emerald, looks back at you. If I allow this is your only chance. You are the youngest inductee into the Stone Shapers in 500 years. You understand that, boy?
Yes, Lord.
I've heard the things that they've said about you.
Oh.
Mak'ren Miss Shaper? But I'll tell you something else. The Black Hands want to expand out to the west. They're gonna need more steel, more firestone, more architects, gem crafters. Every clan stands to prosper. You're not just representing yourself, Mak'ren. You're representing your mother.
Oh, yeah. Yes,
And
yes, Lord Stilla.
the entire clan.
Oh.
You understand that?
Yes, Lord Steerhorn. We can do it.
Right. Keep studying. You craft something like this.
Yes, sir.
He holds that emerald up. Everyone will want the Stone Shapers to do their work. You focus. You make it happen.
Focus. I can do that.
No. Off you go, boy.
Yes, Lord.
Means I've got even more paperwork to sort through to make sure your candidacy is legitimate. Xonimus, where have you been hiding all this time?
Right here with everyone at the funeral. When we started to walk away, I decided I need to go talk to Gideon. And then Riza grabbed him and walked off with them. I don't know if he saw me or not. So I turned and I saw Poppy. I took a step towards her, where she was lost in a shadow of a giant woman. I feel like she saw me standing there, but I can't be sure. So I looked over at Mak'ren, waited a moment. He seemed a little lost in himself. I waited too long. Someone already grabbed him up. So I realized it didn't matter. I needed to talk to Gideon. I started following behind where they went. I didn't go inside, but I stood in the church window, watching, listening. Faintly, I could smell the incense. And then I hear, "I will protect the innocent," coming from inside. I started rubbing an old scar on my right arm, a little burn mark, just below where it bends at the elbow. And I looked down and I started walking away. And then it was a while before I looked back up, but when I did, I was standing here in front of the jackalope.
You see Jubilee is kind of sitting out on the front veranda. They've got a guitar in their hands and just very gently playing a somber tune, humming along a little bit. Seems that they're maybe working on something, just gently kind of strum the strings one last time as they glance over. And, well, hello. I've seen your face before.
I look up from the ground. Are you open?
That I am. Come on in. Let me get you something. Man shouldn't be drinking alone. They get up from the veranda and go over and open the door and wait for you to join.
Yeah, I'll walk right in like it's any other time of day.
Jubilee slowly. Not as much of a saunter as you would normally think, coming from such a flamboyant individual. They head back behind the bar top and lean on it just slightly. Whiskey, was it? Your drink of choice?
Yes.
A double?
Leave the bottle.
And they pull out 2 glasses and pour the whiskey. And they pick one up and salute you. Typically this would be the time when I encourage someone to talk, but you don't strike me as the type of man who likes to talk.
We're at the bar?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to turn and put my back to the bar, take a few steps out to the next closest table, and look around. There art on the walls?
Yeah, you see some various drawings, mostly line art.
It's nice art you got in here.
Thank you kindly. I'm a individual of many talents.
I do not doubt that at all. I'm going to pull out my deck of cards and start playing with them.
Yeah, Jubilee will walk over, bring the bottle with them, and sit down and start playing whatever game you favor.
Don't deal anything. I just vigil with them.
Okay.
I'll pull my sleeve up and show her the little burn mark scar I've had for years. I'd like to cover this up with a piece of art.
Favor the old orcish stick and poke?
Actually, yes. I shake my head that she knows that.
I've done it a time or two. Give me a minute, I'll go get my tools.
When she gets up and walks away, I'm going to deal 3 cards across the table at 3 different seats.
Okay.
Face down, at random. I'm going to drop one face down where I'm standing. I'm going to turn around and walk back to the bar and leave those 4 cards sitting on that table.
Okay. Takes a few moments, but Jubilee eventually comes out of their office, and they have kind of a paste that the orcs use for the ink, and the various tools of very sharp needles, and a sketch pad. So, what you thinking?
I'm looking for 2. You got the time, we've got the gold.
Alright.
One should be fairly easy, one you can take your time on if you want. The simple triangle-shaped head of a coyote.
Are we talking about?
We are.
And they flip through the sketchbook and point to where they actually already have kind of designed out a very stylized version of Sneaky Coyote's holy symbol. Not many men ask for that, but I can already tell you're not just any man, are you?
I have been many men.
Time to reinvent yourself once again?
A little bit. I'll roll up my clean arm, my undamaged arm, and rub the forearm on the inside, just below the bend of the elbow. I'd like that one there.
Alright.
And over here, with the scar, against the scar, on the scar, I'd like this. I'll pull a playing card off my deck that I've already drawn a picture on and show it to her.
Yeah, Jubilee will take it and Yeah, I can do that.
Take your time with that one.
They take you back over to the table and kind of sit you down, and we'll start with a coyote, since it's already done. But get comfortable, Mr. Xonimus. It's going to take me some time.
When they say get comfortable, I just hold the bottle up and shake it. I reach into a pouch and drop some gold.
And Jubilee will take the arm that you indicated for the sneaky coyote tattoo, and they'll start to work.
Red Dirt D&D is Ash King as our Dungeon Master, Brooke Bullock as Mak'ren Stone Shaper, Johnny Payne as Xonimus Dinar, Kiri Hester as Poppy Tealeaf, and I'm Michael Cross as Gideon Block. Our sound producer is Mark Coughran. Our theme music was created by the cinemagician PJ Castillo. Our incidental music comes from Jeffrey McBride, and our sound effects courtesy of tabletopaudio.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and our new home on the interwebs, reddirtdnd.com. We here at Red Dirt D&D could really use your help in getting the word out about us. If you like what you've heard, make sure and subscribe, rate us, and leave a comment. Also, tell your friends about Red Dirt D&D. You can also support the show at patreon.com/reddirtdnd. We have several giving levels to help us grow up big and strong. And finally, a special thank you to KOSU for giving us a platform to do what we love so much. Join us next time as we go deeper into the Caliban frontier.